Okay, folks, happy Thursday. Feels like a Friday, but it ain't no Friday. Not yet, anyways. Let's get this thing all plugged back in. Well, hopefully we have some people that come by today because we got some stuff to talk about. Always have some stuff to talk about. This stuff to talk about is a little bit more exciting than normally what the stuff to talk about is. It's cold in the house. Well, today is night one of bacheloring it. I'm supposed to be. Let me say it that way. I'm gonna go ahead and just chit chat while I'm putting stuff away here, even if we end up pulling it back out. I'm supposed to be a bachelor for maybe a couple weeks. The wife is away on a project, and not that she really keeps me from doing anything. We could still do this. I could just be really loud. I'm loud anyways. Let's put all this stuff away. We got some decals here. We put some decals on the Panzer III. These are the micro scale decals. Big fan of these. They work really well. And I made a decision on which ones I was going to put on this Panzer III based on what I had available. I initially wanted to put. I did a lot of looking at pictures. There aren't very many pictures that are attributable to Wintergewitter. There just are not. There's about 4. And one thing that is kind of true to all of them is, of all of those 4 pictures, is it's not really clear what kind of markings or what kind of numerals the Germans' tanks have in that operation. Now, almost all during, this time period, this would have been late 42. During this time period, pretty much all the Panzer divisions are using the 3-numbered codes on the tanks. Company is the first, 3-number codes. So in this case, it's 513. That's 5th Company, 1st Platoon, 3rd Tank. So normally those go in the 1942 period. Those are 2 battalions. 1st Battalion has 1 through 4. So 100s, 200s, 300s, 400s. 2nd Battalion has 500s, 600s, 700s, 800s, normally. So the first number is usually 1 through 8. There's exceptions. Sometimes you have a 9. Pretty much 1 through 8, other than the command vehicles at the battalion level, but 1 through 8 on the first number. Second number is going to be 1 through 3. There's not going to be a number higher than 3. And the last number is usually not a 5. It's usually 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's generally the case. Company command vehicles would be like 501, 502. 501 would be the commander of the 5th Company. 502 would be the adjutant, the second in command. That's usually how it is. That's pretty much the practice in all the Panzer divisions. Pretty much throughout the war, with the exception, there's a couple of exceptions. In this time period, late 42, there was a unit called the Grossdeutschland. They did all kinds of fruity shit with their numbers. They did like codes that started with 01. It's really complicated. I don't like how it looks. That's only that one unit that did that way. The 11th Panzer Division, which is kind of in this operation, but not. It's over in the... initially, this operation was going to be a pincer on trying to relieve Stalingrad. The northern part, or really the western part, the punch to the east from due west is where the 11th Panzer was. It was the strongest unit of the handful of units that were in it. And they were busy playing little Dutch boy trying to plug the Russians, trying to get at them. So they never got anywhere. But the 11th Panzer used two number codes, and I don't know what those two number codes. I suspect that they were not the company; they were platoon and vehicle. So you'd have like 32, 33, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, almost all German units used the three-letter codes on the tanks. At least during this time period. There's exceptions, but though the exceptions are literally the exceptions. So in these pictures that are hard to find about this particular operation, you don't have any really good pictures of what colors they use. Now, in my informal research that I have done on the Panzer divisions, what I have noticed is a trend. I don't know if this is during all the times, but there seems to be a trend that the Panzer divisions tended to have one battalion with numbers of one style and another battalion with numbers of another style. It's not scientific, but just what I've noticed, it seems pretty peculiar. Like, for instance, you might have one battalion that would have white numbers, and the other one would have hollow white numbers, just outline white. It seems to be pretty, especially like in Normandy. You start seeing that in Normandy. It's nothing official. If I was retired, I'd probably look into it. But so with that said, I knew that the vehicle pictures of the 6th Panzer basically don't show any markings on them, don't show any numbers. Now, these guys showed up in gray from France, where they were formed. So what I originally wanted to do is just highlighted white numbers, just outline white. However, what I have left, I don't have very many of them left, because I'm basically going to be making 4 of these Panzer IIIs. So I need 4 times 3, because we're going to put them on the side of the turret and one on the back on the little box. So we're going to need a lot of numbers for that. And so I decided to do my second choice, which was hollow black. And I think they look okay. I kind of wanted to do the hollow white ones, but it's all right. It's all right. Let me see if I can take a picture of you. Yeah, now it's got the initial gray on it, and then it's got some weathering in the white. I'm planning on putting some more sloppiness on it once we get some other stuff on it. Let's take a look. Here's 513. Now it doesn't have a sealant on it, so you can't guys can't tell from this picture, but actually you can tell. It looks like it's a little drippy there. That's from the clear coat that's on it, that we use the clear coat that we brushed on. It looks like that. Once you add a flat coat to it, it disappears. It's very subtle. Like I said, these decals are microscale. They're really nice. I happen to like them. And you'll be able to see the distance. Well, we're getting really close in here. You can see their individual numbers. Once we seal that up, you won't be able to tell that little space in there. I think it'll look okay. So I'm going to move forward with this. Initially, I wanted to do, like I said, the white numbers, because I wanted to avoid this area, and then we're going to slap on some paint. Now, by slapping on paint, I don't mean it's going to look like ass. Okay, if you look at pictures of winterized tanks, some pictures may look realistic, but they still look. If you were to paint that on your own tank, a passerby would just go like, "Well, you don't know how to paint," because it just looks too sloppy, you know. So I don't want to be accused of being a Picasso. Like, oh no, I really do want to know how to paint. Well, why does your stuff look like shit then? So at this stage, what we're going to do is we're going to add what I call the rusting stuff. Now, there is one wild card, okay? And I did do a test on this. This stuff right here I've used for snow. I don't remember what the hell I used it on. Oh yeah, the snow bases. I have some infantry for Battle of the Bulge. some American infantry for Battle of the Bulge, and I wanted to put them on snow bases on them, and I used this golden light molding paste, and I don't add anything to it. You just, it's just kind of thick or whatever. And I added some here on the fender of the T-34, just as a test. I like how it looks. Now, this looks really white until you look at this and you go, man, there's a lot of the green showing through. Well, this is what I want it to look like, because this was originally a whitewash. It was a whitewash water-based paint. So if it got really wet, it would eventually like rinse off, you know. So we may put snow in some of these, very little, like in the suspension in here and in some places where it might catch. We're not going to have the whole thing covered in snow, but I think we should do that probably as a last step. All right, so what we're going to do then is, and here you can really see the size difference. This is really out of scale, this T-34-76. It looks good, considering it's such a basic model, or I'm happy with the results. But I think one of the commenters on one of the things that I did recently, they put, yeah, I have one, and it scales out to be like 1/68 scale. Like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It looks good. It's just a little on the large side. Hey, look, I paid $1 for 2 of them, so I think I got my money's worth. And likewise, this is a Skytrex 1/76 scale, so you can tell that they're definitely out of scale with each other. I'm going to use them at the same time. It's a game. It's a game, folks, you know. All right, let's get some more lighting in here. And now I am going to need the super readers. They were all up in my business earlier, a couple days ago. I don't need them if I've got my glasses on. All right. But if I have my contacts in to see up close, there we go. These are like +3 or something like that. Well, I take my contacts out, I'm +6, so. All right. So what are we going to do on this guy? Well, we've got some wooden things that we need to paint. We have some metal things that we need to paint. And we got some rustified things that we need to rustify. And then we'll see what that looks like. And then decide where and if we're going to put that snow. I think I'm going to. Just adds a little something. So let's flip this upside down so we're not tortured by the chaos that brings. And I'm fine using one of these that has already been used. And we're going to get the tones out here. Mid-brown, light tone, and what is the last one? Soft tone. We already have the pin washing that we did with the dark tone. So we've already done that part. And hopefully this weekend we can do what I wanted to do last weekend until I got, we're going to call it a sinus infection. I don't know if that's what it is. I didn't go to the doctor for it. It just made me sound like crap and my nose was out of control. I actually felt fine. It just sounded like I was on a deathbed or something. All right. And a little bit of water. So I just got done watching something that was recommended to me. I actually found out about it. And then I watched like 7 minutes of it. And I'm like, I ain't watching this shit. This is garbage. And then somebody that I know really well says, hey, have you seen it? And I'm like, no, I just watched a little bit. Oh, you need to see it. You're not going to, you know. And I'm like, all right. So I watched some of it at lunchtime. And it's that new movie on Amazon called Der Tiger. And man, do I have a lot of stuff to say about it. But it's going to be a really hard movie to talk about. No, I can actually probably talk about it without spoiling it. All right, so we're going to find all these nooks and crannies. And the thing about this is about adding this other rust color is it just adds another layer. Right now it just looks like a black and white picture. Right? You got things that are white, you got things that are black, that's it. You don't have anything in between. You start adding stuff like this and it's like, it ends up becoming a color picture. So it didn't have to be crazy. It just needs to be, hey, some of these places, they're just going to get rusty. The Eastern Front is a hostile environment. Hostile work environment. Around the hinges, like I've said before, where there's a hinge is an opportunity for rust to appear. And this is just your basic Matchbox Panzer 3L that I had never built before. This is actually the first Matchbox kits I've ever built. Am I enjoying the cold weather? I am. It's like 64 degrees in here. Don sent me a picture of, he went over to Mitch's house the other day, and Mitch is wearing a fucking ski cap, like, he's working, with some sled dogs or something. I don't know how the hell he survived in Illinois. I'd enjoy the weather more if I didn't have to work. Because the problem with working in cold weather is those motherfuckers have the heater on like 72 or 73. It's not just 72, 73. It's the heater on 73. And it literally will like kill any bit of moisture that's left on you. So yeah, I hate the heater. And I'll admit it can get cold. And put on some fucking clothes. Marty, you and I don't look the best naked. I'm just gonna go out on a limb there, They make clothes in our size. The only time I get really, really cold, I was cold yesterday, but that's because I was waiting on my wife, and I had a drink, and I was chewing ice, and I had drank the whole drink, and was chewing ice, and I wasn't moving, so yeah, I got chilled on the inside, but if I'm not, I'm usually warm on the inside. I just got done watching Der Tiger on Amazon, and I can't recommend it. I mean, I think everybody should watch it, but I can't recommend it. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. Let's put it that way. The mock-up on the Tiger tank is pretty damn decent, though. That's about as good as it's going to get. I don't know what they used as a mock tank. Probably some Soviet thing. But the tracks aren't right, but, Does that snow dry hard, or does it stay? It dries hard. Let's take a look at some of the troops that I painted using it. This one I got it is for the troops. And I painted them probably 6 months ago. It might be a little bit longer than that. And let's see how it's held up. And it's a one-stop thing. In other words, I just apply it, and you walk away from it, and bam, it's done. Now, if I can just find out where the hell my troops are. You should be here. There they are. They're just underneath a bunch of other stuff. Alright. As a matter of fact, this is all my 20 mils are in here. They all fit in this one tray. It's supposed to. I read. Actually, somebody did a review on this material before I decided to jump and and paint a whole squad with them. So hopefully it's durable. This is all my 20mm guys. And most of these guys were painted before DBA. But then a fair amount of them were painted afterwards. But yeah, they all have names. Yeah, I heard a lot of people used to use wood putty. So these guys right here have the snow on them. And let's see, who's this guy? Sandusky, the sniper. I guess it gives a little bit, but not a whole lot. I read several reviews. Some people are like, oh, you could use baking soda, and then it turns yellow over time. This is still white. It also helps that I don't have my stuff in the sun. We keep it hidden from that. But these are plastic figures, and yeah, I guess that's what we're going to try. I'm going to put some of it on there and see if I like it. Hopefully, I don't hate it. And but it's going to be on a stand. It's not going to be like completely covered in snow. Yeah, this isn't the winter of 1941-42, where it's like, where's that tank under that snowdrift? Where's Schmidt? Do I have a Schmidt? Well, you want to be a Nazi that bad? All my Germans are Nazis, and all my Soviets are commie bastards. Let's see, do I have a Schmidt? I don't think I have a Schmidt. It's just too generic of a name. For a German. I'll make a Schmidt. Eventually. I got lots of Germans, though. Yeah, I don't have a Schmidt. Nope. I got a Freeman and a Schenke and a Kranke and a Larsen, Halm, Kaufmann, Langemann, Mueller, Brandt, Keller, Langer, Hirsch, Vila, Leinz, Worth, Alderman, Becker, Stefan, Engelmann, Kreiser, Schaefer, Niemak, Baer, Littmeyer, Metzler, Jurgensen, Oschlewski, Blum, Dorman, Gluck, Fram, Kellner, Ahrens, Feltner, Lehmann, Fest, Kruma, Peterson, but no Schmidt. No Schmidt. I don't have a Smith either. Your name's just too common, dude. Be glad. You could have a really, weird name. Put them in a more accessible location. I don't have a whatchamacallit either. I could use your name, but it's not you. I mean, you have a common name. I can do a Schmidt and get away with it. I can't do a Harbach. Everybody will think it's that fucker. It's Turnip Boy, TT is Deutsche. DT is Dane. It could be either one. Because they recruited people. I've got some people that have Norwegian type names or Swedish type names. Anyways, that movie was a soup sandwich. Some things in it were really good. Some things in it were, you people on drugs. Like everything else. Yeah. Some of these guys could study for a month and not pass a drug test. But still, the best action sequences still is T-34. The story is garbage. T-34, the story of T-34 is much better than Der Tiger. But, it's still hokey. It's Soviet propaganda. It's Russian propaganda. But it still has the best action sequences. I guess T-34 does have mock-up Panthers in it. I don't remember them being really inaccurate. They must have done a good job. We'll have to go out there and critique it. I got the idler wheel in the wrong place and shit like that. But the Russians do, even though their storylines are garbage, they do try to do a good job with the enemy vehicles. I know that what is it, Panfilov's 32 or Panfilov's 31 or whatever, just a junk movie. But those Panzer 3s and 4s in the snow, it's like they used real ones. They did a really good job with that. Well, I'm just going to run the risk of doing this show and nobody showing up, or not many people showing up to engage me. But I wanted to get this done anyways and just see how this turned out. So I figured, we'll just film it and see if anybody shows up. What do I got to lose? I actually got a notification. I put it on the video. Not that anybody goes back and watches those things. But I got a notification this morning that one of my videos was dinked that cannot be monetized. Now, it's a video that I did almost 5 years ago. It's a video called Junk in the Trunk. And it's a DBA video where it was elephant themed. I don't know if you needed to have more than one elephant or whatever. I didn't go into detail, but it's definitely an elephant themed DBA event of multiple battles, however many it is, 4, 6, whatever it was that we did over at Mitch's house 4+ years ago, March of 2021. They got dinked because I used music that wasn't monetizable due to copyright. No, so here's the thing. The music that I use is in the video editor, in KineMaster, which is the video editor that I use. And I don't just pull anything. I pull sounds that come with them that you're supposed to monetize with them. So I figure what happened is they 4 or 5 years ago, they said, hey, you can use these songs. And a couple of months ago or something like that, they said, never mind, we don't want you to be able to use them anymore, even though they're out on people's videos. So I think I'm going to use this as a lesson. It's not a problem. It's an inconvenience that it's probably generated most of the income it would anyways. I just don't like, doing all this editing and putting some music. It was like some Indian music that led into it. Have all that in there, and then you guys are watching the video, and I either have to take the video down or I have to remove the part that it's any music, so it's just silent. It just looks even more unprofessional than my unprofessional videos look. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use music in the future. Any videos I'm going to do, I'm just not going to use music, because it's like you try to do the right thing. All right, let's use the things that are sanctioned, and they reneged on the sanction of being sanctioned. So it's just annoying to have that happen to you when it's like, you're not trying to do anything nefarious. So I figured that's what happened. So we're just not going to use music in the videos. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that noise, At one time I'd be just like, you know what? I'll put music in it. And if how many videos do I have with music in them? Well, all of them. So, hundreds, and one got dinked 4 years later, 5 years later. That's a pretty low probability, but it's just frustrating doing all that work and then just somebody saying, no, you can't do that anymore. I tell you what, I'm not enjoying. I'm not enjoying that it's freaking dark as hell out there. I'm ready for the summer light schedule to be out. As much as I like being cold, I'd rather it not be dark at 6 o'clock in the afternoon because it makes me just want to go to bed. Not going to go crazy with this rust, but drippings. It's subtle, but it's enough that if you don't put them on there, it's noticeable. We have them up. The Soviets have them. But anyways, the markup on the Tiger tank's pretty good. The storyline is not my cup of tea. There's obviously some things that they got really wrong, but you'll just have to watch the whole thing. And after watching it, it bothered me less. So, in a way, it's kind of the same reaction that I had with 300. In a way, in a way. So. Yeah, that's about right. That's about the amount of rust that I want on it. I mean, there could be rust under there, but it's going to be hidden by the frost, too. So part of me was like, okay, well, just do another tank and use the white numbers for the other one, the white outlines. But I'm like, nah, I need to embrace this because I've got some of the white outline numbers for some of the tanks in Normandy, and if I add to them, I want them to, if they're supposed to be like part of a unit, I don't want them to be like, these have like red numbers with white outlines, these have black numbers with black outlines. I don't want like a bunch of different types all over the place with tanks that would potentially be used at the same time. Because, like I said, as far as I can tell, if you had tanks of, I don't know, whatever, Das Reich or something like that, they're probably all going to have the same type numbers, at least within the battalion, at a given time. That seems to be the trend. Now this is for being a kind of a basic model. This one's not bad. Now the one from Revell is absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautiful. This is one of the nicest models I've ever built. I mean, this is as good as what's his name's 3D printed stuff. Because it's got the bolt holes from the inside. You know, it's got equipment that's on the inside and it's bolted through. Really, really nice model. It's a Revell of Germany with a separate link track. So this is going to be the Commander's tank, and it's a little bit bigger because it's 1/72nd scale, but doesn't really bother me that much. Yeah, would I've gone out and bought them all different scales on purpose? No, but this is what was available at a damn near free price, so this is what we went with, and we're gonna make them look pretty damn decent considering these are 50 years old, close to 50 years old. One thing I am going to check, because sometimes it doesn't show all the comments. I don't know why, but let's make sure we don't have any more comments on there before you just assume nobody has anything to say, which is, which is all right, I guess. Let's see. Here, does it come up here on... Yeah. It's here, I just won't play it. Okay, well. Let's try it this way, and let's try it this way. Okay, and let's plug this thing in so we don't have this thing disappear. I'll get notifications from certain family members that says, hey, so-and-so's phone's down to 10%. Like, no. Like, I don't ever let my phone get down that low. I mean, it's just like, that's like paranoia. Or laptop either. I use my laptop never unplugged. Because first of all, I'm always using things that use a lot of power. So like, your laptop will work if it's unplugged. I said, yeah, but you can't really film a video doing it that way. It'll be good for like 7 minutes. And then you're out of power. Or, play a game or something like that. Yeah, it's using a lot of power. It'd be like gone. So we did get something in the mail, which I can't really do the test of it right now, but we will do a test of it live. And we are out of primer. So instead of getting more of the Vallejo primer that I don't love to airbrush with, I don't think it's very durable. And I have the Ammo one-shot primer, but I got a small one of it and ran out of it. So before I did that, I went ahead and they make this in a huge size, which if it's good, if I like this, I'll probably reorder it. This is, you need a dictionary to pronounce this thing correctly. It's the one by Badger. It's called Stinel Res. And it's also a polyurethane primer. Now, I suspect it's probably going to behave very similar to the Vallejo, but I don't know how different it is. And of course, it's in black. Why would we get anything other than a black primer? and we'll see. We'll see how it works with the airbrush when we go and have to prime this guy and the SDKFZ 250/9, and so we'll have this. We have the other Vallejo and the ammo MiG, which I didn't rebuy the ammo. I feel like the ammo MiG one works a lot better than the Vallejo one. I didn't order it because it's not available right now on Amazon, or I didn't need it bad enough. I still have Vallejo. I'm fine using the Vallejo to hand brush it or whatever. Then they're compatible. Like you can airbrush with one and then just hand paint with the other one to get in all the nooks and crannies you may have missed. But I figure it's worth a shot. I know some people rave about that. They're like, oh, is this the best thing since sliced bread? I have a feeling all three of them are going to be about the same thing. And I'm not going to get into the enamels. I don't want to use enamels. I don't want to use any enamels with the airbrush. That's just a waste of materials. Well, the whole reason I'm airbrushing is to get away from enamels, to get away from toxic stuff. But I like my thinner. I like my thinner and brush cleaner damn near free. So. But we live in a time where there's all kinds of materials. So, I just ran into somebody today. They were just raving about how they're slow to convert over to acrylics. Well, that's good because there's lots of options for people. If you want to use enamels, use enamels. I had one guy in this one model group that they wanted me to join. I joined it, and he was like adamant, like basically to the point that I was like stupid for using acrylics. I'm like, okay. I've never met you. Now I don't want to meet you, dickhead. If you're happy doing what you're doing, keep doing it. If you're looking for other suggestions about other things that may work, well, that's different. I'm not here to convert anybody. You're happy doing it, whatever you want, whatever. Nice. Now, matte coat will just take all that little bit of shine off of it. Now, one thing I am a little leery about. I don't know how that snow is going to react with a clear coat on it. So I may want to not apply the snow until the clear coat's on it. Maybe I'm just overthinking it too much. It's not likely that I'm going to come up with something that's going to look absolutely horrible and uncorrectable. Even if I come up with something I'm not happy with, I got the skills to do it, so I've got the skills to undo it too. I'd just rather get it right the first time because I don't want to waste my time on something that doesn't look how I expect it to. Kind of goes without saying. No, I think this is going to look pretty damn good. I just got to be careful I don't put tons of extra white on it because then it's like every vehicle looks the same on opposite sides. As a matter of fact, you look at this and, it looks just like the T-34. Well, it doesn't when you put them next to each other. But I was reading an account recently where they said, it would get confusing if you didn't know what you were doing, As good as always, tested on a small bit on some card. Yeah, I'm going to seal it first and then put it on. I'm not going to do a lot of snow anyways. I know that I'm going to put these on a stand, especially because like this By the way, this is one of those tanks that you saw at the last show that I picked up like 50 tanks or whatever. I got this for like $2. Like, how can you go wrong for $2? But the the tracks were already deteriorating because it was in somebody's attic or something like that. I'm just not in a real big hurry to play this. Doesn't mean I'm never going to play it, but I'm probably going to play it in a very limited fashion. Like, all right, here's your two squads and your one tank, and the tank is stuck and you need to get it unstuck or that kind of stuff. And oh, here comes some Russians. Just a really almost like a role playing game type of thing. Not like, so why do you have 200 tanks? I said, well, because they're fun to paint. And then you get to, hey, maybe you'll get to roll to see which tank you get and what crew it comes with. I don't know. If you only have one model of something, you could cogitate for a month figuring out, well, which paint scheme do I want? Well, I don't know. If I do that one, I can't do the other one. When you got 8 of them, you're like, oh, fuck, I'll do them all. Just peace of mind. This is my therapy anyways. It keeps me from being an alcoholic. I don't need to drink. I can do this. This New Year's is definitely on record the one where I drank the least. I don't drink that much anyways, but I think I had like 4 ounces or something like that, maybe. Just didn't need it. I was on vacation for like freaking 2 weeks. And nowhere to go. Well, we had people all up in us. People all up in us. Family and such. Which is fine, but I am not a fan of people staying at the house on vacation while I have to go to work and I have to tiptoe out. Like, I got a problem with that. Like, I get extra grouchy. Like, I'm going to work. I don't mind waking your fuckers up. I think that's it. I don't think I'm going to do more rust than that. I mean, it's not a rust bucket. It's just places where it accumulates. Let's see if we can get a closer picture. Let's move this out of the way. It's not that less is more. I do not like that saying. Less is more. No, more can be too much. That's what the saying should be. More isn't better. Gotta run. Pick up the eldest from work. Sorry to abandon you. Have him take the bus. Builds character. Builds caricature. And this is without the flat coat. I'm not going to make it much more whiter than that. Yeah, I think I'm fine with the black numbers now. Now that you add like a little bit of rust and everything, you can kind of see when it's just like black and white. There's like no tones in between it. Gotta have some tones, man. Where's my tones at? All right, now let's take this off so this doesn't fall off, and then we're going to let's add some. Even though some of this might be covered with snow. Where's my snow experts? Where the hell is Justin at? There's one thing I hate about snow. Well, considering I've been in it, and I've never been in it or a place I have to live, so I don't have to shovel it. So I can see that if you live somewhere where there's snow, you would hate that. Because I don't want to rake leaves. Fuck that. I don't rake leaves. So I can imagine snow would be just more the same thing. Prettier, but still. But there's one thing I really don't like about snow, and it's really disturbing. And that is when you walk across it, keep your therapy, there you go. Well, I am drinking, but it's coffee. Is when you're walking on it, you don't know if it's going to hold your weight up or not. And I'm not talking about walking across a lake. I just mean like, you're like, okay, you're walking across this, and all of a sudden, like, boom, and you're like up to your knees. Like, it's fucking creepy. You're basically walking on this really soft, beautiful, clean, because the snow's clean when it's fresh, right? Marshmallow. So it's just kind of, like a swamp. So that's a little disturbing. Other than that, it's absolutely beautiful. As someone who doesn't have to rake anything and never really grown up in it. I know when we were in northern Alabama for 3 years, and we finally got like 2 inches or something like that. 2 inches of snow. I'm like 7, 8, 9 years old. I'm one of those three ages. That's the three ages I was up there. I forget which winter it was. So we lived next to this. It's called a mountain, but it ain't no mountain. It's maybe a couple 100 feet high or whatever. We lived at the base of that hill. Okay, a glorified hill. And we went up there, and there was snow on the ground. There was, I don't know, a couple inches. And what's up, Hoffman? So, we got something to talk about tonight. And I went and I built my first snowball, right? Because you see snowballs as a kid. I'm like, I'm gonna throw a snowball. I take it, I throw it at my mom, and she was pissed. I didn't even hit her on the face or anything. I just hit her coat. Like, that's it. I got one fucking snowball. I got to throw at somebody, and that's it. Done. Now you know why I'm so bitter. So, I started watching it about a couple of weeks ago and lost interest in it because the movie was just too damn dark and the subtitles were too damn big. But Mitch had apparently watched it, and I'm like, well, fuck, I'm not going to let Mitch watch it, and I'm not see it because we're going to want to talk about it. So I finished watching Der Tiger. And I can't it's funny. I think everybody should watch it, but I can't recommend it. It's definitely a movie I wouldn't watch a second time. The mock-up of the tank was pretty well done. It's about as good as you're going to get. You're not going to get any mock-ups better than that. And I couldn't tell if it was a German movie or it was a Russian movie. I have a feeling it's a German movie. But they did a pretty damn good mock-up of the German tank. And I was going to come in here and talk about everything that was wrong in the movie, and why did they do this, and why did they do the other thing, and the plot holes, and all kinds of things. And after seeing the ending, I can't do that anymore. So it's kind of like, it's like 300 in a way that it's kind of not what you expected. So with that, I'll just leave it at that. I think anybody who's into tanks should watch it. I still think T-34 is a much better movie, even though its story also sucks. But the special effects on T-34 are incredible. Bar none. But anyhow, we better put some rust here for Marcus. Marcus could be sitting around the corner. So did your Greeks finally come in, or they're on order, or you have them on order and who knows when the hell they're going to show up because that's like a Hoffman thing? Actually, it's not a Hoffman thing. It's whatever your real name thing. Was Hoffman some guy that you knew, like your favorite janitor growing up or something like that? I knew you told me, it's like you found a picture of somebody, or maybe that's just a picture of that, whatever that is that you thought was funny. If this thing turns out all right, which it will, it may not be initially. I might have to tinker with it, but I'll be happy with the results. We've got two more of the same thing to do. So it'll be three of these, plus the commanders. We got the martyr to finish up. I'm probably going to do a half track in snow, at least one. I was going to do an Opal Blitz in snow, but that one came incomplete. Still haven't come in. By the time they come in, I don't know if I'm even going to be care. I know. That's got to be frustrating. I'm not making fun of you. I totally understand it, And that's why, I talk about this all the time, like keep the momentum going, right? Like I'm going to build something and it's like, if something doesn't turn out well, just, okay, fuck it, move on to something else. Keep the momentum going. So once you lose your momentum, you're like, you get pulled into something else. And it's not that I have ADD or anything like that, because I don't. It's just, you got to keep your own morale up. I actually have the opposite of ADD. When things get thrown at me too fast, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be chased by wild dogs. That's the opposite of ADD, right? They make things so fast, like you're being chased by wild dogs all the time. I'm like, I'm already getting paid for that bullshit. Like, I don't want to do that on my free time, Yeah, it's an old picture. I made this account like 14 plus years ago when you were like 22. Does that make you a millennial? I was reading something and it made it sound like millennials were kind of older. And I'm like, millennials to me are punk ass people. But I guess, you could be punk ass and still be. But see, I don't feel like I'm 50. What am I? I guess I'll be 50. Ooh, I'll be the big double five this year. And I still act like a fucking kid. Still playing with toys. See, millennials to me are like my daughter's age, but no, she's whatever the next one is. The candy ass generation. Yeah, I'm a millennial. 35, 45 now. Yeah, my daughter's like the candy ass generation. Just told me the other day she went to the range while she was on vacation. She's like, if my friends knew that I went to the range, they wouldn't know what to think. I'm like, what's wrong with that? You're not killing anybody. You're not killing any animals. It's just cardboard. You're being safe. It's empowering, you know? That's how America used to be. I don't know what the fuck happened, you know? You think you're some kind of a killer? I said, well, people go and throw a fucking baseball or football around. What do you think? You're some kind of fucking quarterback or something? Oh, you think you're going to be in the NFL? I'm just throwing I'm just throwing a football around. Since these Greeks are taking so long, I finished that Ophismos game I was making. Had AI make some quick reference sheets. It did a good job, gave it the rules, and asked for it to make a QRS. Yeah, you're good with that AI. And I'm not an anti-AI person. I think you're using it in the correct way. I think that making these fake fucking videos, I know you don't do that, but these people that make these fake fucking videos just make us all like not want to believe anything, you know? And I appreciate that you make some of these videos, that some people make these videos with these really attractive fake females. I mean, some of them are, you know, you guys do a good job, but you're creating this like basically like I don't trust anything, you know. Now, one of the groups that I do, my car group, some people were making these pictures of, they were taking pictures of their WRXs, and they used AI to make them create them like they had them in Grand Theft Auto, and they're pretty cool. They're really pretty cool the way they took their car and Grand Theft Auto'd them into the game like they're in the garage, and it looked pretty cool. See, that stuff's harmless, right? But when you start making like, here's videos of these politicians doing things that they're not really doing, that's harmful stuff, you know. That's literally, it's harmful things, you know. But you know, like what you're talking about, that's useful. using it like for scenario ideas. I think that's good. I'm just not familiar enough with it. And you can burn a lot of time with it. Have I seen the AI miniatures page? I have not. I've not even messed with that. What's that thing where people animate their miniatures and they come to life? Some of that stuff's pretty cool. But you can tell they're toys, right? Harmless, right? All right. I am really fucking happy the way that looks. That looks really good. Especially the man, rivets just make the world go round. Let me take a photo of this. You weren't here when I was taking a look at this. I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I gotta, when I impress myself, when things turn out better than I expect them to, that makes me really happy. Now let's tone this down because it's too reflective right now. This is not what's really being seen. It's the exposure that's just too bright is what the problem is. I think this is probably accurate-ish. Now I'm probably going to take some white and slop it on. In very small places. And then I'm probably going to take some of this fake snow and add that in some places. AI videos are going to probably make the current internet that we have obsolete. That's why everybody's talking about this Web 3.0. I haven't heard it mentioned once. But I'm not in that world, you know? I just don't like it when people come up with shit I didn't ask for. Like, for instance, I didn't ask for a monitoring system on your car that notices when you're going out of a lane. I didn't ask for, like, car lights. Yeah, it's all going to be car related. A car lights that automatically are running all the time. I didn't ask for that shit. I asked for, like, some AI go to work for me so I can stay here and paint fucking toys. Okay? That's what I'm asking for. Why can't somebody come up with that? You know? And my life is being wasted not being here doing this shit. Yeah, just a little bit of rusty type things, just to kind of keep it from looking like a black and white picture. You know, there's on the miniatures page, talking about miniatures page, on the miniatures page many years ago, somebody posted a picture of some miniatures that they had painted all using blacks, grays, and whites. It was amazing, but it looked like a black and white picture, which is a waste. That's like, like I could just look at a newsreel if I wanted to see black and white. The whole point in World War II I get excited about is make this look in color. Like, what does this look in color? Like it's, vibrant. I remember many years ago, there's, before color was that common, because you can find some World War II stuff in color. There was this newsreel of like Hitler in color, and it's creepy. When you see that fucker in color, it's like, oh man, that's like for real, for real. That's why I think that, what's the name of that movie? Schindler's List. Making it in black and white was a waste. Because you watch that kind of stuff in color, and it's really disturbing. It brings it home. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sure they had their own reasons for wanting to make it look like a documentary or something like that, but I disagree. You would have to do all the terrain like that too, or it would just look weird. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we've got some wooden parts that we can paint. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use this leather brown works good. Actually, that's not true. We're going to use this I believe this is Parasite. Yeah, the Parasite, because we have to have our black, because we're going to do a darker color of this and lighten it up a little bit. Where is the folk art black, which is, I'm squeezing every little bit of it out of it. But we should have a lot of modeling coming up in the next couple weeks. I should be bacheloring it for a while. The wife got sent away. ICE came and grabbed her. Now, she got sent away for a work project. So I said, well, I'll try to stay busy and not eat the house. That's my problem, is I like to eat the house. So if I'm doing this, I'm not eating something. If I'm watching television or playing video games, all bets are off. Uh-oh. That's the problem with this black thing, is you open it up and you get this stuff all over you. But I watched their Tiger. What else happened? What else happened in the last couple days? And then you gotta wait for this to dry off, or you don't want any hand sanitizer, or wipe off everything you've done. I want to say there was something else that came up. Hopefully, I get a chance this weekend to do that. Oh yeah, the whole monetizing of the video. I had a video that was 4.5 years old, and YouTube decided, oh yeah, you're not gonna get, we can't monetize this, and you have a copyright violation on your music, even though the music that I picked was one from the editor that says it's usable. I think they just reneged on their copyright thing for the artist, and that's how it happened. No worries, that video's already made all the money it can, so we just went ahead and made all the money it can, like $4. That's literally what it did. I actually have some videos that have made like $30. Over like freaking 7 or 8 years or something like that. But it's just a nice little tiny slush fund that you can be like, let me buy this for the channel or something like that, and not feel bad about it. I said I would do this if it didn't cost me anything. Now, if I had to pay to do this, I wouldn't do it. But if it didn't cost me anything, I'd still do it. I'm not doing this for the money. And I'm not going to do stuff I don't normally do just to get more views. That's just like, doesn't make any sense, Oh, I forgot to mention it when Marty was here. Because Marty's older. He's always talking to me about music, but I get these things all the time, like that come up on Facebook or something like that. Something along the lines of, best vocal artist or best bass player or whatever. And they suck me into them, right? Because I'm always like curious, like what people have to say, right? And music's cool. It's not really a big part of my life anymore because I'm not 18. It was important when I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever. Now it's like I rarely listen to it. But I'll get suckered into those things, right? I'll get suckered into like, well, I wonder what somebody's opinion is on it. Because unlike food, I don't like a lot of music. There's a lot of music I don't like. Just like, the only thing probably that I'm more difficult with than that is probably, there's lots of like ladies' perfumes. No, I don't wear any. But if I have to pick out something for my wife, 98% of them make my stomach turn. Not really my stomach turn, but I can't stand the smell of them. They're too pungent. That's probably the thing I'm the most difficult about. Where some people say, I'm really a picky eater. I'm not really a picky eater. I'm picky about smells. And I'm picky about music, but there's a lot of music that I just don't really care for. But hopefully Marty watches this because I'll just talk to him about it next time I see him anyways. He's always suggesting stuff. That I had an older friend of mine who's a couple decades older than me when he was playing. And he said something that was very memorable. And he said, people like the music that is around when they were going through puberty. And I did the math and I agree because I'm like, that's like mid 80s for me, you know? So like all the stuff from the mid 80s, I remember listening to things on the radio and things like that. Doesn't mean I don't like things before that or things after that, but it's just kind of a special place. That's kind of like home base, so to speak. And of course, growing up and having a rock station, I don't think we have a rock station anymore. You would only know who an artist was if they told you or you recognized who they were, right? I mean, if it's some kind of a band that has, which is really unusual, that has multiple people that are the lead singer or something like that, it would be difficult to pick out. But generally, once you know, oh, okay, that's what so-and-so sounds like, you can pick it up. Or if they announce it, okay, now a song by so-and-so, and then you pick it up, you remember. But there's like some songs that I've heard many times, and I, for the life of me, didn't know who they were because they never announced who they were. Music has gotten more important for me as I get older. I only listen to it while I write, so I trick my brain into getting into writing mode every time I hear music I like. You know, I wouldn't be able to write, and I distract easy. So, but anyhow, to get to the point, unless it's somebody that you liked specifically, you know, I would just listen. There's lots of things I've listened to over the radio. Like there's songs I recognize, you know, on the radio. So, and it's probably by region, and it's probably by time period. So to give you an example, there was this article, I believe it was about best rock vocals or something like that. And I'm having breakfast. I'm like, yeah, why not, right? So these names get split out. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. Oh, okay, I know who that is. Oh, yeah, okay, all right. And then eventually, and just like anything I'll read something. I'll be like, all right, let's see who that is. And oh, there was so-and-so. I've never heard anything by them, you know? And then if I told somebody like Barty, they'd be like, how the hell have you never heard anybody like that? And how have you never heard of that band? And I'm like, because nobody has told me, hey, this is a song by so-and-so. And I put two and two together. And then sometimes the rock station I would listen to growing up never played a single song by a certain artist. So let me give you an example. And I've heard this name before, and this is before my time, right? Because I would say stuff from the 80s I know, some stuff from the 70s I know, late 60s, you know, other than the stuff that they play all the time, you know, I'd heard this band called Humble Pie, okay? I don't know what the fuck they sound like, right? I don't know who they are. So that came off one of these things, like, let me listen to them, right? And I think it's one of those bands that comes up when I'm reading about other bands that are influenced by them. You know, like guys that I like from like the 80s or whatever, like, I grew up listening to them. I'm like, all right, so I recognize that name. Like, let me go through their litany of songs that they apparently have and see if I recognize any of them. But I just didn't know it was them because it wasn't announced on Rock 104, hey, this is so-and-so, right? I go through, and on Apple Music you can go like what their top songs are. I went through one by one by one by one. I went through 15 or 16 songs, and I have never heard any of them. Now, did I live in a shell? No, I listened to the rock station, and they didn't play it here in North Central Florida. You know, music from 1967 to 71 or something like that period of that particular band. I've never heard them before, ever. Didn't really like them, didn't really dislike them. It's just kind of, Not my thing. That's that time period of music that if you don't like how it sounds, you really don't want to see what they look like while they're playing it. Talk about a bad trip, you know? Because I can appreciate, there's a lot of music that I can appreciate and then be like, whoa, but don't show me them playing it because, man, those guys are tripping on something, right? And they probably were. So I'm like, this is a fairly influential band for a lot of the other bands from the 80s. And I've never heard them before, ever. And they've never played them on the radio. So I'm like, all right. And that's something I don't do very often. I don't do very often. Like, I don't go and like dig deep and do like a certain band or something like that. Because as a general rule, I prefer bands to people. Because I don't feel like enough people in the band get the credit. If you got somebody that's like, somebody's like doing all like the drums for somebody or the bass, and the guy's just like singing and he doesn't even play guitar, I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe you're writing the song, but you're not doing any of the you're not doing any of the performance. But anyhow, so I tend to prefer bands. So I was on one of these things to give you an example of how, at least my generation, how much we're affected, I think, by radio and what was being played on the radio. And this is, talking about like mid 80s onwards. I don't listen to radio anymore, but I probably listened to it from, I don't know, 85 through 95, 96, something like that. 97. Maybe not more than that. Now it's like, the fuck's a radio, right? So to show you how I'm affected by it, I flipped across something else and I came across an article about Chicago, the band Chicago. Now, I don't have any albums by Chicago, and I know that I've heard some of their stuff, and, I have a couple of them that are on a playlist. But, they have a distinctive sound, so I'm like, let me go through their top 20. I heard every song multiple times. Like, I didn't even know. Some of them I didn't know what the name of the song was. I haven't heard the song in 30 fucking years, but I knew all of them. It was like, what? Because that's what they played on the radio. Let me get a Coke. Because I'm a cokehead. So, at least my generation, we're extremely affected. Or I think we're extremely affected by what DJs played on the radio. And like I said, I don't even have the Chicago album, but like the first 25 songs that are the most popular, I've heard every one of them multiple times. And most of them knew it was Chicago. I couldn't name like, 3 of them to save, but. So, yeah. It's interesting. I used to listen to music and paint, but I get bored, Listening to music and like doing housework works really well. Or like if you have to like paint in 1-to-1 scale, that works. What was I doing? I changed all the hinges in the old house. Man, I gotta stay with it. So I ended up like, I think I listened to Van Halen for like 4 hours or something like that. I'm like, oh, got it all done. That's how you get it done, Not listening to easy listening and getting shit and knocking stuff out. I used to paint listening to smooth jazz. Now, I don't like jazz per se because it's chaotic by nature. I don't like chaos in my music. But I do like smooth jazz quite a bit, especially because it has a good groove and bass line. Almost always. Almost every single song. Most songs don't have lyrics, even better. That way I'm not making up lyrics that I don't understand. But, I've said this before, I don't give a shit what the song's about. I get it. It's your, it'd be like, if I paint these figures and I have a backstory at each one of them, like, you don't fucking care what the backstory is, That's just important for the painter, but nobody else. All right, it's looking pretty good. But yeah, music isn't, it's not important to me anymore. I don't know when I buy my last CD. Well, people don't buy CDs anymore, do they? There's probably still people buying records. I never had a single record. I'm too young to have a record player. I had tapes. Tapes always work better than CDs. I never had a Discman. At that time, Discman's like, oh, you can't run with it, or you can't, well, not that I was a runner, but if you're walking around with it, it'll skip and stuff like that. Didn't have that problem with tapes. I had a friend of mine who actually had a tape deck. And I don't know how many tapes it was, but you could load it with, it was at least 4 tapes. It might have been 8. Cassette tapes. And you could put them in, and then it would shuffle them. But there was a trick, like if it played tape 1, it'd play the first song, right? And then if it switched to tape 3, it would play the first song. Now, if it played the second song out of tape 3, then it was like you could only play like the next one in line song-wise, even though it could switch between the tapes. Hey, it was state of the fucking art for 1989 or 1990 or whatever the hell it was. Walmart has a record section. Huh. I can't say that I ever had a record or a record player or anything like that. Well, I can't say. Yeah, I can say I never had one. Yeah, you know what I meant. It's kind of like when somebody says, I could care less. Well, why don't you? No, it's I couldn't care less. Yeah, everybody does that. Instead of talking about horses, they talk about Three Cross Jesus Hill. It's cavalry, not Calvary. Three Cross Jesus Hill. All right, get out, Mr. White. Walmart has a record section. Yeah, I don't like going to Walmart, but I tell you what, we used to go to Target all the time, and I set foot in Target for the first time a couple months ago. And I hadn't been in a Target in 4 years. And I was like, damn, there's some attractive ladies here. As I'm used to seeing the Walmart people, the Walmartians. Because I live in a next to, not anymore, a college town that, has college people, but so yeah, the only reason I would know about somebody would be is I've heard it on the radio and they say it. There's a song in particular that I swear to God was Billy Joel, and it was not a Billy Joel song. They never announced who the hell it was, and it was just I'm not a Billy Joel fan. Not that I dislike him. I'm just saying I don't have any of his records or whatever, and it just seemed like a similar thing. I just kind of put him in the same category. Like, they never told me who it was, and Same thing happened with a couple things. I think it was a John Mellencamp song that was the same way. This wasn't John Mellencamp. I forget which one it was. Yeah, there's some good stuff you can do with AI, but if AI makes you have less faith in humanity than you already have, it's probably not a good thing. When I was young, got most of my music from movies. I agree, it makes sense, yeah. If they played a song I liked, I would either buy a CD or torrent the music. Oh yeah, torrent. I can't say that I ever bought a soundtrack to a movie. I don't think I ever bought a soundtrack to a movie. Is that right? Did I not have any soundtracks to any movies? I don't think so. I don't think so. Closest would be like soundtracks to video games. The original Rome Total War came with a CD of the music of the game, and it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. The other Total War games do the same thing, not like the Rome Total War one. Phenomenal. The first Rome Total War. It's so good that when I ran my first tournament, my first DBA tournament, I had a boombox. Yeah, that's how old it was. It was like 2005, I guess is when it was, when I got it. And we had this little boombox that, we'd play like songs for the daughter when she was trying to go to sleep. I borrowed it. I remember it being like metallic yellow. It almost looked like a droid or something like that. And I brought the CD, and I had the CD playing on repeat through all 14 songs or whatever, that are all like the combat sounds, the combat melodies while we played the tournament. Oh, that was pretty cool. Great CD. Yeah, the Space Jam soundtrack growing up, and I listened to that a lot. That's a terrible movie, so I've heard. I've not seen it. I watched a lot of VH1 and MTV as a kid too. Rome Total War Shogun 2 music was my favorite. Yeah, the Rome Total War, and the music from the video games of Dynasty Warriors is incredible. But I like that kind of metal kind of music. I like the multiple guitar bridges. I don't know. I'm not a music person, so. Although occasionally, if I do listen, there's sometimes I'll go on YouTube and I'll listen to some people that are like music people, and they talk in these terms that I don't understand because I'm not a music person, and it's kind of educational. But they have these videos that are really weird. Like you'll have this video, and they gotta be fake because it'll be like something like this person who's from America. They're not like from Tajikistan or something like that. And the video will be like hearing, God, what would be a good example? Journey for the first time, or like Jump from Van Halen for the first time. And this person's like in their 30s. I'm like, no way. No fucking way. And it's just like they're like a vocal person, and it's like their reaction, and it's like, okay. But I'm like, come on, man. What kind of big rock have you been under, It's not something obscure. It's like you've never listened to the radio, how do you avoid that? Or like, Can't Stop Believing or something like that. Like they've never heard it before. Like, were you hatched in it, on Mars or something like that? Come on. But there's one guy that I really like to listen to, and he's a music guy. He does music videos, and he's like a music teacher, and he's trying to sell his how to play music better, whatever. I don't have the music gene, okay? I'm a painter. That's what I do. I'm not a musical person. But he's a delight to listen to. But he's, it's interesting the way he does stuff, and like a take song, and he'll stop it, and he'll break apart, and he'll take the things out, and it's just really it's interesting. If it's like music that really well, that you've heard your whole life, and he breaks it down, okay, and this comes in this, and he talks about the flat F and and all the music terminology that I don't know about, but it's super interesting to listen to. So sometimes I'll listen to him as well, but unfortunately, if it's a video that has moving pictures on it, I can't do this and have the video. Like if it was just audio, if I was listening to like Dan Carlin or something like that on one of his history podcasts, he's got no pictures, so I have no problem listening to him. But if it's something that like he's actually in a video, even if it's just him talking to you and not much to look at, I can't do it. It just doesn't work for me. All right, let's try to ruin this fucking thing. Not intentionally. Now you're listening to Rome Total Wars. It's I don't know how the second one is. The first one is incredible. It's incredible. It's one of the best things I've listened to. It's incredible. And the game came. Geez, would we not mix this up well enough? The game came with a CD of the music. That game was so hard to play. I don't know. Did I play Carthage? I don't know that I played Carthage that much. I know I played the original game. It was kind of flat, and then we played Rome Total Rome Total Realism, which was in much improvement, and then Europa Barbarorum that would take a month to load up, but was incredible. But that game was really combat based. A lot of it was like about the battlefields. And man, you could pull some victories out that you thought you were hosed, and then you could pull a Manstein and really like do something amazing sometimes. I don't care about Rome 2. Yeah, it's very political, which is funny because I just want to play that. It's just too much. You're like Europa Barbarorum soundtrack, but I know a lot of other people are into it. It's the one that was done with like realistic instruments, right? Yeah, I like Europa Barbarorum a lot. Playing Pyrrhus, and he's got this small army, but it still has all the meat and potatoes, right? You still have the elephants, you still have the pikemen, you still have the heavy cavalry, whatever. You only have one unit of each, and you have none of the infrastructure in your town, in your kingdom, which is like one fucking province, might be two, to support it. So you got to go on the offense, and you've got to like really minimalize your losses until you can like gain territory and like build those things up. But I did like playing the Romans a lot because what I did was I bought my infantry in triads. So I would buy a Hastati, I'd buy two Hastati and two Principe and one Triarii, and I'd checkerboard them myself. So I'd literally put them checkerboard, like the corners would touch, but there'd be gaps in the middle, and I would just move them that way. And that probably wasn't the best way to play them, but that was kind of like I played them in theme, and I enjoyed playing it that way. And it's not that I like Rome so much, but it's like the other guys that aren't Rome are kind of like bland. I mean, the Sassanids are kind of cool. Pyrrhus, obviously, very cool. I don't like the Carthaginians. I mean, Hannibal's awesome, but the rest of the army just kind of doesn't really do anything for me. I pretty much just played Rome. New update came out for Europa Barbarorum 2. I've downloaded, but I haven't. Oh, so there's a Europa Barbarorum 2 mod for Rome. Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem with my laptop. The laptop that you're watching right here. Here's what I have on my laptop right now. I have Streamlabs. I have War Thunder. I have a few close combat games, like 2. No, I don't even have any of them on there right now. I have both of the Slytherin games, which is Battle of the Bulge and Drive on Moscow, which have to be small, and I'm out of space. Oh, and I had put on there World of Warships, and there's an update for World of Warships that I can't do because I'm out of space, because I only have 256, whatever it is. Is it gig? 256 gig, that's it. So I need to buy additional memory. And I don't want additional memory that I can't run the game from, because I don't want to keep switching it. So I don't want to get one of those HDDs. I need to get an SSD, and I just don't want to spend $400 fucking dollars on it. That's the only thing that I have a problem with my computer is it's like I don't have any space. So yeah, I've got I've got Europa Bar. I have all these games, but I can't put them on there. I don't have the BattleTech game on there. I couldn't. So if I want to play one of those games, I've got to like, all right, take, and I've got to leave War Thunder on there because I'm playing that with Don. That's a game that I'm like using, but oh well. I want to get one of those 4 terabyte somethings. I just don't want to spend $400 on it, and I'm absolutely terrified of doing the Windows 11 update. Absolutely terrified that the stuff that works won't work. That I can't film this. And am I overreacting? I've had a bad experience. I've been raped by an update before, and it didn't feel good. Let's put a little bit of contrast here on that. So I'm not just overreaction. I've been fucked before. There was no fix for it. And it's the only I don't want to buy another computer right now. And it's unfortunate that I'm always going to have a laptop because you can get a lot more bang for your buck for a desktop. But it doesn't make sense to have something that has to sit in a place. It just takes up too much space, Yopa Barbarome's song Furious Demon's Drum is my favorite. Is it available on YouTube? Can I listen to it? Total War Attila was so fucking boring. But the funny thing is, I played Rome Total War the same time I was getting into DBA. I never would have picked up that game had I not been doing DBA. So, it gave me ideas of, not necessarily ideas on how to paint things, but it'd give you an idea like, oh, I wonder if these guys look like this. And you could see them like, oh, okay, well, I like how that looks, or I don't like how it looks, or something like that. It was just another resource. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Furious Demon's Drum. Okay. Where's Hoffman Corner? Yeah, I haven't played any of the mods. I haven't played any of the mods for Attila. So yeah, the mods are where it's at. I don't have space for them. So I got to get an HDD thing, but you don't really want me going back and painting 15mm miniatures, do you? I would if I wanted to, but Furious Demons Drum. Did you ever get a chance to play Tomb Raider? The Tomb Raider that's set in Japan? I think you'd like it. Because it has a Japanese theme. And you could do a lot worse than looking at her for a couple hours. I'm just saying, I'm not having impure thoughts. It just, she's got some nice lines. That's all I'm saying. No, it's got a good theme. It's like a abandoned Pacific base. It's pretty cool. Don't I need an SDD to run things from, though? You probably know more about it than I do. I haven't looked into it. I was going to get the SanDisk one. I think it was the SanDisk one. It was like $70 or something like that. I'm like, okay, that's pretty reasonable, right? Send you a link on Facebook, HDD, if it's still available. Yeah, send me one. And can you run a game directly from that? I mean, that's the only reason that I would get a solid state one, is because I hear that that's what, I want to put a game on there. I wouldn't put like something that's like super demanding. Like, you don't want to put War Thunder on there. And the next thing you know, you got no ping. But that's not my area of expertise. And never will be. I'll get educated enough if I go make a purchase, but Like my computer, like you'll know everything about your computer, and then you won't need a computer for another 8 years, and then you forget everything. Everything you knew is like gone. I remember when I went from one computer to the next thing, like everything's cloud. Like what the fuck is this cloud thing? Like and everybody's trying to sell you something like, oh, you need to get things on the cloud, and you need to get the one, what is it called, the one spot or whatever the hell it's called. I'm like, oh my god, you're making my head hurt. OneDrive. The OneDrive. Yeah, I do need to get one though. Go nice. Okay. We'll run through 9. I appreciate you coming on here though. This is what I need to be doing. Games are fun and all that, but at the end of the day, this is what's keeps the juices flowing. All right. Should I put snow on it or not? I don't think I'm ready to do it yet. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do multiple vehicles. And then maybe do snow over them at once. But I think that this looks pretty decent. Looks pretty damn decent. It's going to have to be on a stand because unfortunately I had to use the hot glue gun to get the tracks were just falling apart. They were just decomposing from being exposed to extreme heat in someone's attic/garage. Not mine, before I ever got it. But anyways, go back to your question you had a while ago. Do I have a lot more tanks to do? Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot. One of the projects that I want to do during the next couple of weeks is I want to empty out the top level of my case. Right now, the top level of my case up here has got buildings in it. There's some Chuck 38s up here. They don't count. They'll stay in here. But this top level, we've got, there's nothing wrong with these buildings, but I can't put the extra tanks in here I have with these damn buildings being in the way. And they're tucked all the way back here anyways. So I think I'm going to remove the buildings. I'm going to put them somewhere else. It's not going to get dust on them. And I got 2 other shelves I can put more tanks in. Because I have a lot of tanks that are, I've got this whole box for starters. All these are done. I got nowhere to put them. I can't put them anywhere. I mean, this is literally, other than the North Africa stuff that I really don't want to mix the two. We got North Africa and these 2 right here. But other than that, everything else is just like pretty much solid. It's like solid Soviets, more solid Soviets, not more solid Soviets. And I've got, these are all Soviet. And I never understood when people were like, oh, I do such and such a scale because this other scale would take a lot of space. I'm like, come on, they don't take that much space. Well, when you have frickin', hundreds of vehicles, and I literally have hundreds of vehicles, but they're fun to do, You've been tempted by this Hago that I keep seeing on eBay. Oh, is that all your Hot Wheels in that cabinet? I haven't seen it. Oh, yeah, I got this cabinet. So I didn't have anywhere to put the Hot Wheels, right? They were in that traveling case. And I'm not going to travel with the Hot Wheels. I'm going to play Hot Wheels here. And if we can't play here, then I'm not going to play Hot Wheels. It's too much trouble for me. So I bought this case on, I searched around Amazon, and it's, would you believe that this thing costs as much as this? Well, this is IKEA. So if you can find something at IKEA that works for you, the price on it's really good. It's even not even made in China, and I think it was only $140, something like that. Hell of a deal. This thing's super nice, you know. But because it's hard to find something that has too much space. You'll find something that's like, okay, well, this is this. You can there's a layer here and then there's a layer here, but you know our stuff is short, so you don't need all this airspace between stuff. But this thing was like $129, $120 or something like that. It's a shitload of money considering what it is, but hey, it looks fucking nice, right? And you gotta keep the dust off of. Hey, I earned it. Like, we got a lot of work in here, but I went from not having a place to put it to whoop, we filled everything up. So I'm like, all right, well, actually, I've got 3 vehicles that aren't in here that are done. You know, so yeah, but this thing's pretty good. I could certainly stand to have 2 more, but I don't think I'm going to pay any more Hot Wheels until we play more. You know, because it's not that I don't enjoy doing these, but it's like, all right, why am I building more? We're not even using the ones we have. So, we're going to play again soon, and hopefully it keeps the... It's not that I don't enjoy doing these things. I enjoy them a lot, but it's like, you know, we got to play more often. Why even have more vehicles? I've got lots of these that don't even have cards made for them. I'm not even going to make fucking cards for them. It's a lot of work to make the cards, actually. So we're going to just roll with what we have. We're supposed to play soon, and hopefully that doesn't cancel again. Otherwise, I'm just less likely to do it, you know. So, but yeah, this is the thing. It works great, but it's expensive. But, you know, you got to protect your investment, you know. And, you know, I think it looks good. It's colorful, you know. And I got space on this wall right here. We could put another 2. So we could literally put one here and one down here. Can't really put one below it because the chair is going to bump in. What's up, Tritark? Yeah, the chair is going to bump into it here. But I did have it at a height that I could put another one, but I don't think I'm going to. But this is like, I think 56 vehicles or something like that. It's got removable levels, so I actually had to remove one of the levels here for some of these taller vehicles because I got nowhere else to put them. I mean, I could put them in here, but hell, there's not even space for the tanks in there. You know? So, anyhow. And that's, all my ancients are hidden. I mean, they're tucked away. You know, where dust and shit can't get on them. You know, you got to protect your stuff that you spent a lot of money on. You don't want to, like, go to shit, you know? What's up, Big Mac? There you are. I was talking about you earlier. You guys need to go ahead and see Der Tiger. What an abortion of a film. What an abortion of a film. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, man. All right, so this guy's about done. But yeah, I mean, I got those handful of Soviets to do. I've got probably somewhere around 20 vehicles that are complete, and I just don't have a place to put them here. And I want to put them here because if somebody, you know, you guys can look at them and stuff like that. I can show them to you guys. Not hidden in a hole, like, you know, what's the point? So, all right. So do I have a lot of tanks to do? Yeah. Yeah. I've got not only painting these, I got to finish that Panzer. I've got another Firefly from Matchbox to do. 2 more Shermans from Airfix to do. All stuff that I got for like $2 a piece. Like, how can I pass that up? A pontoon bridge. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with that, but it was $2 fucking dollars. I'm like, I'm taking it, you know? The thing's fucking huge. Der Tiger is a poorly written film. It's, let me talk about the good of it. It's a pretty good mock-up of a Tiger tank, with the exception of the tracks. Well, what are you supposed to do? Make tracks that look like just like a Tiger? I mean, come on. I don't know what the base vehicle is. I'm sure it was some Soviet vehicle. The mock-up's pretty bad. Um, I just about lost it with the whole. I mean, after you watch the whole movie, my gripes about certain part of it are less. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you've seen the whole thing, you understand what I'm saying. But like stuff like the encounter in SU-100. Well, why didn't they just say an SU-152, right? Which was available at that time. It even has the barrel like an SU-152 on it, right? SU-100s didn't come into action until really late 44, really late, like probably November 44. Through the end of the war. And they even put a 152 millimeter barrel on it. They should have just did something else. Just trivial shit like that. The snorkel scene was like where I lost it. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. The whole that snorkel scene. Now, I'm going to give it a pass based on the end of the movie, okay? But the snorkel scene, when I thought it was like being done like seriously, I'm like, this is worse than American movies. That was absurd on so many levels. So, like I said, I'm going to discount it because, I've seen the end of the film and it's irrelevant pretty much at that point. But, it wasn't until like 3/4 of the end of the film that I found out who everybody was. Like they introduce all these characters. You're like, all right. The young kid's the assistant machine gunner, right? And he's actually the loader. But it's like, because usually the new guy, the guy on the bottom of the totem pole was the assistant machine gunner. But, so I just figured he was a young kid, whatever. But, is it worth watching? Yeah, you probably should watch it once and that's it. But T-34 is a much better movie. Again, shit story, but the special effects on T-34 are just second to none. Even though that German tank commander in T-34 was more like a U-boat commander. That's what it looked like, a damn U-boat. Hadn't shaved since they invaded Poland. All right, well, I'm not going to start on another Panzer III yet. But I got a limit time, so I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the Panther together because it's sitting here and I need to get it off this area. You'll check it out. The T-34 movie, yeah, it's a terrible story, but the special effects are incredible. The special effects remind me of the skirmish level game that I want to play. That's it's like all in slow motion and it seems stupid, but that's kind of how the game plays. Like, all right, roll for hit location. Let's see where it hit. When you're rolling to see where it lands, and I like all that stuff. Das Boot is sweet. Did you like any of the U-boat movies like Das Boot? There's more than one? Das Boot was all right. I've seen it twice, not in a while. It's probably a movie that I would want to watch again if I saw it with a daughter. I don't know if she'd get bored. I don't know that she would. She gets to do I get to provide all the color commentary and, She watched Generation War and really liked it. Generation War is really good. I'd say Generation War is probably the best war film out there for World War II. Although it's technically 3 films, but, let's make sure that we get this the correct way. Aha. There's arrows, and the arrows go forward. The arrows go forward like this, so this is the piece that must mount on this side. You guys missed my music commentary I was talking about. Yeah, but it was like my generation, we're definitely affected by what was played on the radio. Like, if they didn't play stuff on the radio, sometimes you would never find out about it. Maybe if you had like an older brother or something like that. I didn't have one of those. Okay, this is supposed to go like this. God, it makes me feel like I didn't put it in the right place on this other one. Because I built this one a long ass time ago. Nope, I did. Yeah, this is the Green Panther. I repainted this one. And this is like influenced by a real paint job. I didn't just pull that one out of my ass. If I was going to pull it out of my ass, I'd make it a lot crazier. Your favorite World War II movie is Japan's Longest Day, but it's black and white, so someone who hates glorious black and white movies won't like it. You're right, I won't. Sorry. It's wasted. You know? I don't mind foreign films. I didn't know anybody who likes foreign films more than me. I mean, there's probably somebody who does, but I'm just saying I don't know them. Although, what was that movie where they're like trying to come up with a Yamato? That movie sucked. It's a Japanese movie. I forget what it was called. I didn't care for it. And a lot of it was like the Japanese. And I don't know if you've been around Hoffman when I've mentioned this, but there's something odd about, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but there's just some weird interactions that happen in Japanese movies. I'm going to give you an example, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, so maybe I don't have the details right. But I believe it's the movie Kagamusha. And Kagamusha, which I'm sure you've seen, it's in color, but a lot of the characters, and this happened also in that, what was that movie that has the cripple in it? I believe it's called Three Kingdoms. Although it might not be called Three Kingdoms. But it's about the advisor who's crippled that supposedly is actually who Sun Tzu really is. He's based on this guy, and I forgot what his name is. It might be Sun Pin or something like that. But anyhow, you have this character that is bipolar. You have this bipolar character in Asian movies that is either like really serious all the time, they're coming to visit me and I'm business hard as nails stuff, and then when these guys leave, he's like a fucking clown, and he's like Jack Black, and he like snaps between these things, and I don't know if that's like a cultural thing that is just done stylistically, but I find it extremely distracting to find somebody who's like, not good cop, bad cop, but just like this duality of extremes is just, I find really, really distracting. And I've seen it in several films. And I find that might just be like an Asian stylistic choice that they do, the way that I'm sure there's something in Western cinema that probably drives them crazy, but, I find it really distracting. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's like, yeah, but their tiger was awful. It was awful. The mock-up of the tiger was pretty damn good. I mean, they even got the part back here. I was looking at a scene. They even have this part back here where they had that little clamp. It's that little clamp that you use to hold the pins together when you change the track. They had one on there. I don't know if that's exactly where it goes on there, but like they went through the effort of putting that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think you said it best with the duality of the extremes. Yeah, it just seems, I just don't know anybody that behaves that way. So it just seems like it's just too over the top, you know. And it may be a common thing that happens in Asian cinema, you know. I just find it really distracting, you know. Because you got a guy that's just like hard as fucking nails, right? And I don't have a problem with that. I'm like, there's a reason why the guy's hard as nails to become Shogun. Like, he's like a mob boss, right? He's like tough as nails, right? And then all of a sudden, like they leave, and he's like Pee Wee Herman. It's just like kind of weird, man. Kind of weird that you did that. You kind of weird that you sold it that way, you know. I think it's just a stylistic thing. The way that Indian movies always have the little dance number. How about those Indian movies that have the wire foo? Woohoo! Boy, that's some crazy over the top shit right there. I've seen clips of some of those movies. You're like, it's got to be AI. Nope, that's actually really in the movie. All right, so we've got this little round little horn thing. That's what they put on the track to kind of hold it in the pins. When you pull the pins out, I think it's something has to do with like changing the wheels on it. I think this is supposed to be cut off. Yeah, we'll be on this one. You'd not sat through the Indian movie before. I tried to watch one of them. I don't know that I've sat through a whole one. I tried watching one of them when I was painting my Rajputs. I want to say it's the one called Joda something or another. The main character is a female character, but the guy who ends up playing like the main guy is like this famous Indian actor that actually has an extra finger. It's funny. He's got like an extra finger here. I think it's a non-workable finger or whatever. Joda Akbar or something like that. I think that's what it is. I'm watching something. I get these good ideas for colors. Like when I was painting my Rajputs a long time ago, and I don't mind the musical Indian number thing in it. It's the way over the top. Like one guy, almost like it's the Dynasty Warriors. One guy like holding down millions. Sat through a Russian movie before. They're just so full of propaganda. Like everything was hunky dory under the communists, and then the Germans came and peed on our cornflakes. I don't have a problem with them getting back at the Germans. I mean, the Germans treated the Russians like shit, right? Like, that was just their plan. They went in there to invade them from the Russians were subhuman, right? I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with it. Well, I'm not saying that I have a problem with how they treated them. I'm just saying that they everything was just hunky dory under the communist. So Russia does a really good job of making really good mock-ups of their vehicles. They really give a shit. Like, I swear that whatever the Pamfilov's 28, terrible movie. The action sequence with the Panzers in the snow, incredible. I swear those are real tanks. They did a damn great job with the Panzer 3s and 4s. Like, really good. Like, I was impressed. Okay, and the other one goes on the equivalent side over up here in the front. One thing I hate about Panthers is where they put the little Balkan cross. It's all the way down here in the corner. It's kind of like, come on, man. You could do better than that. But it doesn't bother me that much now since we're now hand painting them. Now we can make them whatever size we need to. Not like, all right, we got to find the right size decal and order one, and nope. We'll use what we have and just paint those on and move forward. All right. Yeah, Dear Tiger was just... You got to see it, though. You got to see it. I mean, at least it's not predictable. At least it's not predictable. One of the best ones is that 1944 movie's not bad, and that Forgotten Battle isn't bad. One of you guys recommended Forgotten Battle to me. That's a pretty decent movie. You got characters from three different angles, plus you got the girl angle. I like the way they did that. Now this one we're going to add some extra track. I got castings or something. We're going to add some extra track back here. Almost all the Panthers had extra track back here in the back. This provides you with none. So we'll definitely be doing that. I need to try to watch that. I don't know if it's available yet. I think you probably told me it was. That movie with Ray Fiennes, the Odyssey movie. I don't think anybody would want to watch it. Certainly not the wife. She not a can't count on her for something like that. The daughter would probably watch it, but gonna be a while before. I don't think she. I think she'd probably be bored. Although she does seem to like revenge stuff, but she can get angry, and it's not like I have an angry. Yes, it's down over here in Hoffman Corner, but it's not that I have an angry daughter, but ineptitude and things like that really get to her. Like the guy on Saving Private Ryan that wouldn't pick up the rifle to save his buddies. She was vocal about that guy. Whatever his name was, the translator. Yeah, it's not about, not being scared. Everybody gets scared. I'm just like saying, like, man, you got your back up against the wall and you have a weapon and your friends are getting murdered. Like, you need to do something about that. I remember watching that Kurt Russell movie, Breakdown, with her. The movie that could have been just solved with just having a firearm. could have solved that whole movie by just having a gun. Guns don't solve all your problems, but they can solve a lot of They can solve a lot of problems in movies. That's for sure. This week I'm watching horror, but I plan on watching it when my Greeks come in. Oh, that other movie. Oh, so you haven't seen it yet? I'll beat you to it. I ain't watching horror, dude. I was just thinking about this the other day, and I said this. We were talking about this earlier, and I'm like, horror makes sense if you like have a really bad time at work, right? You're like, well, you watch something like really horrific. You're like, well, at least, man, my job sucks, but at least I don't have that happening to my family, or something like that. So I could see it being like a reverse pick me up, but at the same time, I was thinking about that. I made that comment, like probably like the next morning when I did a morning show where I was over here painting, and I'm walking across the house, and it's dark, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 or whatever the hell it was, and I'm sitting here thinking about what I said, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see horror, because the next thing you know, I'm like looking at, I start getting paranoid about shit that I'm naturally not scared about. Like, I'm naturally not scared about demons and shit like that. So I don't want this movie to put ideas about shit like that. And the next thing you know, I'm like, I don't know about you. I don't have anything in my house that can fight off a demon. You can't fight a demon with fire. They just get bigger. So, I don't want to bring horror into, because it's disturbing, and I don't like disturbing shit, and it wouldn't take something like really scary to be disturbing, like that movie 2001: Space Odyssey. That scene at the end of the movie, again, not a disturbing movie. That scene at the end of the movie where that alien, or whatever it is sitting at a table eating and nothing's happening and you're waiting for the shoe to drop is so fucking stressful. I don't want to deal with that, Well, he's looking pretty old, so Odysseus is definitely looking a lot older than he would in real life. But, people age differently. It's probably fair to say that even though the average age of people in Greek times probably was in their 40s, they probably look like people in their 70s do now. What was I watching? One of those compilations that they show on Facebook that I'm not even interested in. Cheers. A show I've never watched. I've never watched Cheers. It just didn't appeal to me. Everybody on Cheers, I'm 10 years older than them or more. It's like, these fuckers look old on the show. It's like, well, you're at a bar, man. Alcohol wears you out. No, but it's like, yeah, so Odysseus, he was 32, but he looked like he was 72, He still could probably kick my ass. I'm not debating that. That's not what's up for debate. All right, we're gonna put. Oh, is it hanging out in the middle? Don't tell me it's in the middle of that freaking wall. All right, let's grab this Squadron Signal Panther book. I know these books are old, They are the best reference point, as far as I can tell you. They got little line drawings. The line drawings make sense. They're not cluttered with a bunch of shit. Oh yeah, it's not sitting low. It's in the middle of that. Okay, what's the job for Stickum? As a matter of fact, Panther is just a really attractive tank. Despite the wheels being overlapped, I'm not a fan of the overlapped road wheels. It is an attractive tank. But, most tanks I think are actually attractive. There's occasionally one or two that are like, I don't really like the look of that one, but it's the exception. Even old Shermans can look good. I don't like the Germans with the sided Germans. Like, I like everybody's stuff, And I don't mind building German stuff, but, they got to fight somebody, too. You can't just, have a bunch of Nazi tanks running around and nobody fights them. It's like even with the turret. So I got to move this thing. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can even do this. I may not be able to do it. Let me just have to live with it. Oh, carajo. Let me see if I can budge this at all. I can. I'll budge it a little bit. If I budge that one, this one's even farther back. Hopefully we can budge this one. If not, we can't. Nope, we'll leave it right there. Okay, we'll just move this one. I'll move it back a little bit more then. Let's put this tube. This is floating in midair, so we're gonna need a Stickum. Where's the stuff at? I moved it from my normal location. Here's some. Odysseus spent 10 years sieging Troy and took him 10 years to return, so he should be old at the end of the story. Okay, well, there you go. They did their research. I haven't seen a movie with him in a long time. I remember sitting through English Patient. I don't think I want to see that again. That was boring as hell. Although the funny part was, I was watching that movie with a friend. And there was this scene, boring ass movie, where the female nurse, she's serving with some Indian unit, from India. And she runs out in the minefield, and the first thing out of my mouth is like, "Oh, you crazy woman, you're gonna blow yourself." And literally, the Indian character said the exact same thing that I uttered out at the same time, and it was hilarious. We both broke down in laughter. You just had to be there. But I remember it being boring as shit. I don't know. Sometimes, you watch a movie at one time and you think it's one thing, and you watch it later and it's not what you thought. Sometimes it's the same. I think that's kind of unusual. Like Misery. Misery was I watched it in a movie theater when it was new, and I watched it recently last year, and I still thought it was good. So we're going to hold this in place where it's supposed to be, right here in the middle of this wall. And I'm going to come in here, and we're going to weld this son of a bitch right there. And then after it's dry, we'll pull the stickum out. But it's just kind of free-floating in this location that it really can't do. That's the gun barrel cleaning tools in there. And we'll put tracks back here. All right, what else we got? That may be everything. I mean, other than tracks. And I'm sure I have the molds still for them. If not, I mean, I could make more, but I don't want to use the originals. Plastic Soldier Company original tracks. I may even have some extras, like already made, just like I had the ones for the Soviet ones. Let's see, where would those little molds be? They're right, I bet they're in here. Well, this is where they should be, which is where they're not. Okay. The other places they could be in a little bag here. I mean, just imagine how big of a mess this would be if I wasn't organized. Yeah, like this is like the other one I do. I got this German half track, which is similar to this 9, but it's the 3 I picked up. And it only has one piece of track, so I don't have any track for it on the other side. This is like that Rommel's half track with the grief. I mean, it wasn't the only one that used it, but that's the one that's the most famous one. That's definitely the most famous one. I got a little baggie here that has. This is the Soviet one. What's this? That's the American one. I guess I can make another one. I have a baggie of all the molds. Yeah, see, here's some other tanks that are basically done, but they're not up there. The Su-85, the T-34-85, some Shermans. Got nowhere to put them. Got nowhere to put them. Well, they're here somewhere. But anyways, the next couple of weeks, not to mention the desert stuff, the next couple of weeks we should, German half tracks. More German half tracks here. Even the finished Tiger 1. Got nowhere to put it. Yeah, these guys, the King Tire, which is actually I never finish it for snow. We'll use everything we learn here to put it on that. All good stuff. Well, I gotta look and find out where the hell the molds are and make the extra tracks for the Panther. Not that we're in a hurry to paint the Panther next, but probably should finish up the things that aren't complete before I start painting some of these things that aren't. With the exception of these snow ones, I want to get this winter to winter stuff done. Do I have any half-track troop carriers? I do. Lots of American ones. I got 4 American ones done. Yeah, and these are just die-cast ones. This is just a die-cast dinky toy looking thing. What were they? Were they dinky? No, were they dinky? I think Matchbox. Corgi. Corgi is what they were. Yeah. I got a bunch of them. I got some for the Germans too. My favorite one of the German ones is the one that came out for the Africa Corps. That one, the finish on it, I was really happy with my Africa Corps finish. You know, is it gray and sandy, or is it sandy and faded, or yeah, it's all the above. It can be whatever you want it to be. So, it's a good looking vehicle. Those German half tracks are definitely a good looking vehicle. As opposed to this melted asshole. Now, I painted this before we ever did the black lining. So this thing needs black lining. But this was a Raffam model that was white metal. It was a pain in the ass because it didn't have any instructions how to put it together. So I had to go look for it online. And I put a magnet here in the bottom of this and a magnet in the bottom of the Pack 40 so that it can rotate all the way. Because it was just naturally top heavy. It wanted to fall off there all the time. So a magnet gives you enough of a grip that stays on there. Because this whole thing is white metal. But as we use these, I will probably go back and black line them. It just makes the detail stand out a lot more. Because at one point I wasn't doing the black lining, and I started doing the black lining but didn't do the drippings. Now I do both. So it's just as simple, you can just do it after the fact. It's not that big of a deal. You know, and I also don't have to do it. You know, but so one of these Panthers, I don't know if it's this one or one of the other ones. It's going to be a base primer red. It's not going to be all red. It's just going to be, that's going to be the main color. Kind of like the Jagdtiger, except it's going to be 3-color. Like the Jagdtiger that's came out excruciatingly good. Useless vehicle, but it looks great. This is primer red with the overspray in the yellow. That's just late in the war what they did. So these Panther Gs are all late war. So one of them will be. One of them will be that way. But it'll be 3-color. Yeah, and I like painting the German stuff, but you know, honestly, I like painting the Allied stuff more and make it look really attractive. Because a lot of people just like, that's green, who gives a shit about it? Well, you know, anybody can make the German stuff look cool, you know, because it's colorful. But I got a lot of Panthers now. I think if I paint these 4, I think I got like 12 or something like that. Don't worry, I got like 16 T-30-45s or something like that. I got a lot of them. But, all right, folks. Well, that's going to cut it for tonight. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you guys on the next one.